Hello, and welcome to the Misophonia podcast. This is episode 12. My name is Adil Ahmad, and I have misophonia. On this episode, I talked to Marjorie, who lives down in the country of Panama. We get to hear about what it's like to live somewhere where there's even less awareness than other countries. We also hear about some of her unusual triggers that started it all for her as a young girl, how things got really frustrating as she was growing up, and how she's dealing with it now. Remember, you can follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Misophonia Podcast. Yesterday I got a message from Anna, who I think is in Florida. She wanted to let people know that while she realized that she can't control her misophonia, stress always turns it up several notches, and I think that's something we can all relate to. So over the past year, she's turned her focus from trying to reduce her misophonia exposure to just trying to reduce the stress in her life, and it's had a big impact, she says. I just thought that was interesting to focus on the stress aspect because she's right. In many ways, that can be a lot easier to control. Anyways, as always, feel free to leave messages like that on social or email hello@misophoniapodcast.com. But for now, here's Marjorie. Welcome, Marjorie. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cool. Well, I like to usually ask where people are located, and why don't you tell me where you are?
Well, I live in Panama. It's a really small country in Central America. We speak Spanish here, but some of us also know how to speak English. It's a really humid country. It rains a lot. It can be sunny in the morning and then rains like cats and dogs in the afternoon. People are really friendly. We love to eat, to dance. And yeah, really, that's it. I don't know.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's great. So you live there now? You were born there. You spent your whole
Yes,
life there.
exactly. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So I know a lot of the listeners would love to hear your perspective of somebody living. I guess most of our listeners are probably in the United States, so would love to hear what life is like there. I don't know where you found out about the podcast, but you were very.
Well, I follow a lot of Instagram accounts, a lot of social media accounts related to misophonia, and I don't quite remember where I found about the misophonia podcast. But as soon as I found about it, I was like interested because I love to read a lot of articles related to misophonia, and I have never come near or never knew about a misophonia podcast. So I've heard the first one, then the one you posted today. As soon as I read that I could also be interviewed about talking about misophonia, I was like really, really happy because I don't know anybody here that has misophonia here in Panama at least. And all the people that I know that have misophonia are only online or just people online. I don't know nobody here with that.
Yeah, I remember you emailed me or something, and you were very eager. So I'm glad to have you on. Yeah, I guess there's many different ways we can go, but I'm just curious.
No, ask whatever. The more questions, the better.
Yeah. So you don't know anybody other than online. That's not uncommon, even here in the United States, where there's a little bit more awareness.
Yeah.
But so then how did you find out that there was a name?
Well, it was pretty recent, like 3 or 4 years ago. I'm 29, so like when I was like 25, something like that. I always search online like people who hated. I always put on the search part. I always put like people who hated noise or with my triggers like people who hated this and that. And then one person, it was like rarely spoken about. And one person thought like, yeah, this noise bothers me. And then it was a really small community that talked about what they had, but they didn't mention misophonia. Then after a couple of weeks, I looked online and I saw that what I was feeling had a definition, and I was like, oh my God, this is me. It was only like 3 years ago. I like, this is me, and since then I started to cope with it. I know what things to do, and it didn't affect me as much as all the years before.
Yeah. So what are your kind of what are your, without getting into maybe without trying to simulate or get into too much detail, what are your general kind of triggers?
Well, people mainly have mouth-related triggers.
Right.
Like those do affect me a lot. But my main trigger that I had since I was like 8 years old is a hands rubbing. Oh my God, just oh, it's like when whenever like you're cold or you're putting body lotion or whatever, whenever you touch hand by hand, like you rub that
Yep.
sound, or whenever you rub your hand with your skin or your any part of your body or anything that seems or sounds like hands rubbing, like if you are I don't know, using a pencil that a really dry pencil on the paper, whatever that sounds like rubbing, that's
Mm.
crazy. That's my number one trigger.
So not just skin, not just bodily
No,
rubbing sound, but
but that's
anything
the number
sliding.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the number one. Also, when you're like washing a bathroom with those
Oh
brooms
yeah.
that you use.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it started just with the hands, but it developed into anything rubbing related.
And is it other than rubbing? Is there anything else
Yeah.
other than? Yeah, okay,
Oh,
gotcha,
I had thousands of triggers, but
gotcha. Okay, okay. Yeah,
that's
I'm just curious
number
if it
one.
was.
Yeah, but also mouth related is like smacking, um, uh, like talking with food in your mouth. Oh my lord! And also biting an apple or everything with mouth. But I don't hate whistling, but I hate smacking. I hate people talking with food in their mouth.
Yeah.
I hate when people are like sucking in their teeth, and
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of more like strong bass through the walls. Also pen clicking. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's like a lot, but the number one that I, because those I can stand like for 5 seconds at max. But the other one with hands rubbing, not even 1 second. I have to run,
Immediately run.
like
Yeah,
it's
fight or
emergency.
flight, and
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
And so okay, and so you just found out it had a name a few years ago. Going
Mhm.
back, how long have you kind of had? How long have you
Well,
had this one? Yeah.
well, my first misophonia memory, well, the first memory that I have hating that sound, because my first trigger is also hands rubbing. This is when I was like eight 8 years old, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad used to, when he went, well, my dad was I was hearing the other podcasts, and their first trigger also was their dad. I was like, wow,
Yep.
also mine. That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
And
No, it's not weird. Very common.
yeah,
It's
really, I
weird that it's
didn't
that.
know
It's weird
that.
that it's that common. Yeah, but it's very
Yeah.
common.
And he's a really tall man. He has big hands, and whenever he went, he was getting ready to go to his job. He put hand cream, but
Uh,
he put it in such a hard way, like I don't know how to say, like when you rub a stick to make fire.
yeah.
He did it like that, like so strong. And I was when I was small, I heard that, and oh, my whole body clenched, and I couldn't stand it. And I put my hands on my ears, and I felt like, what's going on? And everybody seemed like normal, and I was dying here. So every day he did that for the longest time, and I don't know, I was traumatized. So whenever he was going to do that, I just put my hands on my ears, and I knew I had to do it because it was getting making me crazy. And back in the
Mm-hmm.
day, I only thought that I was crazy because nobody else was triggered or bothered by sounds, and I was just like, I thought that I was just like, oh, I'm crazy. That's it.
Right.
Yeah, but that was when I was 8 years old. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So every day, right? You would do that. And just out of curiosity, was there also like kind of a visual trigger that came out of that as
No,
well, or no? Okay.
no, my misokinesia, I think
Right.
that's
Yeah.
how you
That's
say misokinesia, right? Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
It came when I knew about misophonia, because I've never had visual triggers in my life. But
Mm-hmm.
like back or 4 years ago, I started to have visual triggers, and I think that they are as bad as my the noise triggers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And does it feel like the visual triggers are kind of telling your brain that maybe you're going to hear the like? Do you think it's kind of anticipating the sound, or is it um, does it feel like its own separate thing?
I think it's a little bit of both, because, for example, can I can talk about my visual triggers or not?
Oh yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Because some of my visual triggers, those are like less. I only have like 10 visual triggers, not much. But some
Mm-hmm.
of them are feet and hands related. So whenever somebody is like playing with a pencil with their hands or playing with the rings on their head on their finger, oh my god, or just moving the fingers, like using those little Rubik
Rubik's
cubes.
Cube, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I cannot stand people playing with things with their fingers. That oh, this pisses me off so much.
Do you think
And
it's the speed of the fingers moving
oh
or
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
totally,
okay.
totally. But I thought that at first, but then I saw my mom moving
It's like
them
spider legs or
really
something.
slowly. Oh Lord, no, I can't stand that. Once I
Yeah,
saw my
okay.
mom moving them really slowly, and I couldn't see that. And also with
Mm.
the feet, when personal like tingling, I don't know how you say that, tingling their feet, like up down, or circling,
Wiggling.
wiggling. Sorry,
Yeah.
wiggling their feet or moving the feet in circles. I cannot
Yeah,
stand
okay.
that. Just those, mainly those two are my visual triggers, are with fingers and the moving feet. That's it. But that's it, because I don't mind people chewing or moving their mouths. That doesn't bother me, and it bothers me the sound. So I don't know what those two are not related.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it seems like those the the hand and feet ones are probably related to kind of your original trigger.
Mm.
Not a doctor here, but that it's interesting that that would be kind of related to your strongest trigger.
Yeah.
So you'd cover your ears back in the day. Was it did the other triggers come? Was it basically just that one trigger for a long time until you were an adult, or did you start to develop other triggers as you were a child as well?
Well, that only that one, and when I was 12, maybe another trigger. That it's when you. That's funny how I'm gonna say it, but when you imitate a fart with your mouth,
Uh huh.
that sound that you do with your mouth, that was my second trigger. Like, and I had
Gotcha.
those two only for the longest time. When I was like 8, like 19, something like that. I started to develop all the triggers because I went through a really hard time. I was battling with depression and a really lot of changes in my life and my family. So
Hmm.
I was in a bad place, so I started to develop all the triggers like the bass, the mouth chewing. I started to notice how my family was eating, and I couldn't stand it. But back in the day, I couldn't control my reaction, so I yelled, I threw
Oh.
chairs, like my how do you say that? My anger was so strong. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I once fractured my my wrist because I smashed the wall so hard that I fractured my wrist because I was so
Wow.
angry, and I threw chairs, and I threw myself into the ground and started crying. I jailed my mom. I didn't understand what was happening, either my
Yeah.
family. But when I was like 19, 20, I started to develop more and more and more and more triggers. But at the same time, I also knew how to manage or control the triggers. So I'm happy when I was younger, I only had two. So,
Yeah, I know that's right, right. So it sounds like you were definitely having troubles dealing with it. So, what did your parents do at that point? Did they just kind of like just try to talk you through it, or did they take you to a doctor or therapist or anything?
well, when I was young, as I said, I only had two. So my I struggled more at school and at home. Since my dad was always working, the only moments I was like really struggling with that rubbing hand sound was in the morning. So, and I
Mm.
was in my room, so nobody ever knew. And I never talked about that because I just thought I was crazy. Like, it's not an issue. I'm just crazy. But when I started to grow up, I didn't really have a really strong relationship with my mom or my dad. So I never thought about my issues. But when I knew what I had, that's when I tried to talk to them about that. I wrote a letter like, "Oh, look, this is misophonia, and I think that I have this," and I listed all my triggers just so they know how why I was reacting the way I was reacting when they did that. And I told them that it wasn't their fault, that just that I couldn't control it. Just I put explained all of that in the letter, and I told them. And for the last 3 years, they have been really supportive of that. Sometimes, like it's normal, they are eating or eating with their mouth open, and I just try to avoid it. I'm more like I avoid situations. I don't confront. I don't know if you understand it. I don't confront the situation. So I mainly pass the time in my bed, my room, with headphones. I don't eat at the table. Whenever they're eating and talking, I just go away. Just I don't want to bother them because it's pretty annoying when somebody tells you like, "Hey, stop doing that," because it's not their fault and it's normal to eat. So I avoid people just to not bother them.
Right, and if you've already told them what it is, they hopefully are not taken don't take it personally.
Yeah, sometimes they do. Well, my mom's used to say like when I die, like some things like that, like you're not gonna miss me when I die, like because I used to yell at
Oh,
her like, "Mom, stop eating like that! Like you don't hear yourself." But that was when I didn't understand what was going on, and a couple
yeah,
of times, even though a couple of times because I don't know, I exploded, and she used to say like, "Oh, when I die, you're not gonna be able to treat me well or whatever," and also my misophonia is has got to the point that I don't have a really good relationship with my big sister because she's the main source of triggers for me right now.
oh, so
Because
not your
yeah,
dad
not
anymore.
my
It's
dad
her.
anymore
Yeah,
because he doesn't live with us. He lives another place. So she's my main, and I try. God knows that I try to have a relationship with her, but her voice, her nasal voice, her hand, my misokinesia started with her. The movements of her hands, the way she talks, like everything is triggering for me, and it make me feel so guilty. It's awful. It's awful, and she
yeah, the
knows
guilt.
that. Yeah,
So she knows that it. She knows that you. Does she know? Understand at least that you can't control it, and that
yeah.
it's. Gotcha. And so you only had a couple triggers growing up. So she wasn't one of your triggers growing
No,
up. It was
no,
more later.
no,
I see.
no. Later, no, not really. No, nobody in my family, just my dad, but just in the morning. So no, it was just mainly at school because people knew about it and they were like bullying me because whenever
Oh
I
yes.
heard
Okay.
because we in Panama has a really hot weather. So if you're
Yep.
at school or a college or whatever, there's AC. So when people are cold and they try to warm their hands, they do that. Oh my God. And at school, that happened a lot. And whenever they did that, I couldn't react all the way than putting my hands on my ears like I was being attacked because that was my main reaction. Like
Yeah.
I could have something, a glass on my hand or a plate or whatever. But if I heard that, I threw everything away and I put my hands on my ears. Like my immediately, I couldn't think of
Yeah.
anything else. And people started noticing that and they started to do it on purpose and
They
whatever.
gotcha. So did it start to affect did it affect your inner circle of friends or was it mainly just bullies on the outside?
Well, my friends never believed that I had something because I never knew
Mm.
how to explain it because at school I
Yeah.
didn't know it was called misophonia. I just thought that no, this bothers me. And they just said like, ah, no, you're just
Just a weirdo.
overreacting.
Yeah.
Yeah, weirdo. So I didn't talk a lot about that. But when go out to eat or something, it was one of my friends that ate like a cow and oh, I I she she got pissed a couple of times because I told her like, oh, please eat with your mouth closed, and she got pissed. And but I don't know what how was I going to explain her
Right.
why? No, so
Are you still friends with her?
yeah, but
Okay.
people they still do what they do, but people never completely understand you or completely are aware that you're suffering of that. They forget because the things that they do are normal, and you are the one that is
Right.
not normal, I guess.
Right. Right. Um, and then in school, did it affect do you think it affected your grades and stuff? Because as you're
No,
maybe, yeah.
no, not really. It affected sometimes my mood. I
Mm-hmm.
was I was angry most of the times, but Not really. At school, I actually had a great time at school. Just those memories where they were bullying me and things like that. But school was great. My issue was when I after school that I had other things, and that's when I developed tons of more triggers.
After school is in like in the day after school or
No,
like
after I
age
graduated.
wise. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's
Yeah.
talk about that then.
hmm
Did you go to college or straight to work?
Well, I went straight to work,
Mm-hmm.
and after 3 years, I went to college.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated like a lot of years, like I don't know, 4 years, 5 years ago. And with my grades, everything was fine. But the issue was that the people used rub their hands whenever they felt cold, and
Mm.
the things that unconsciously you build up, how do you say that? G- Rencor. You have like this feeling like you like the person but you still hate it. How do you
Yeah.
what is that feeling? Oh, I remember the name, but you develop that feeling like, oh, I know this person does this and that, and you try to avoid that person just in case
Kind
they
of like a
do that.
grudge. You kind of
Grudge,
hold a
yes,
grudge, yeah.
grudge. That's a word. And I didn't have a lot of friends at university, at college, because I don't know, I, I maybe I didn't have the time, but I don't think that affected me. Misophonia doesn't affect me on a friends level
Mm-hmm.
or education level, mostly on a family level or romantic level. That those are my the issues when misophonia takes place.
Gotcha. Okay. And all right, so we covered family level.
Family
Maybe
level.
do you want to talk about the partners that have had to deal with your misophonia? I know a lot of people have to deal with partners and spouses and relationships.
Um, well, I had a boyfriend when I was 20, like 21 to 20, 22 to 25, I
Mm-hmm.
believe. That's when I just started to understand what I have. And I told him, no, I think I have this and I have that. He was really supportive. Um, but I wasn't pissed of his showing. I didn't matter. It didn't matter to me. But he did something with his how can I say that? I don't remember what he did. But the incarnation level was not more. It was more like the misokinesia in
Mm,
with him.
gotcha.
He made some movements with his hands and that I couldn't see. But he was so supportive that those other things I could stand. Like whenever we were in a bus or
Mm-hmm.
in a train or whatever, and he noticed that I was struggling with somebody chewing gum, he decided like to hug me, or he even please asked with a lot of kindness with to the other person to please stop it,
Oh,
and
that's
he
nice.
took the blame. It was really nice, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if what is the other name that you call misophonia, like the four S, like
Yeah, selective sound
S.
sensitivity syndrome used
Yeah,
to be used to be a briefly was a term that was getting used a lot for this condition.
yeah.
There was a time when I think we people weren't sure what to call it, and that was kind of it. And then at some point in the past few years, misophonia kind of took over as the term that
Oh,
people use the most.
yeah. But because I think, of course, I believe I have it, but I think that that also affects all the other senses because I'm really sensitive to touch, to sight, to to smell. Like I'm really sensitive to that, and whenever people touch me like really slightly or oh, there's so many things that I can stand related to senses. I'm like my senses are like above people, normal people. Uh, it's weird. I don't know how to explain it, but
You generally When you're hearing stuff like in a crowded room, do you kind of hear every conversation? Do you feel like is it do you just hear more?
I can hear people talking really, really low,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
but the the volume doesn't bother me. For example, in my misophonia, the loud bass doesn't bother me at all. But when it's
Gotcha.
really, really low that you can hear it through the walls, oh God, I cannot stand it. It's weird. If
Ah,
people talk really loud, I don't mind. But when they talk really low or really, really deep, raspy voices, when they talk with like if I'm talking with my hand over my mouth, muffed, muffed sounds. I don't know how to say that.
yeah.
Those things bother me, like real low sounds. Oh, I, I
Low in
don't know.
volume or low frequency?
Maybe low frequency.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's what you'd hear through walls. You would get just the low frequencies because everything else would be cut off.
Yeah,
Interesting.
but
So you're more
mhm.
sensitive to that because it's interesting because the hand rubbing is actually very high frequency.
Yeah,
So
but
maybe
when it's
it's
related to robbing, the high, it's high
gotcha.
frequency,
Hmm.
but others like low.
All right. Yeah. So it's probably
Mhm.
frequencies are specific to the type of sound.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. And okay. So we've talked about how it kind of affected your family and your relationships. What about like where were you like in the workplace? Are you kind of in an office environment or?
Well, I'm a certified translator and interpreter,
Mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
so I translate different languages. And there was one time that one of my first jobs that I had to interpret over the phone certain type of conversation, like could be medical, legal, health insurance, whatever. And there were times that the voices of the clients were so annoying, like I couldn't stand it. I have to hang up. Like I couldn't possibly stand it. There was one doctor that was um talking to the patient and I had to translate whatever he was saying, but his voice was so low, deep
Yeah.
and raspy. Like I tried my hardest to stay on the line and interpret, but my brain was about to explode. I couldn't stand it. I have to hang up. Of course, they punished me for that, but I couldn't stand it. It was impossible for me.
Yeah. Yep.
So that happened a couple of times. Also, when I work in an environment where I had to deal with other people, oh, I've never liked that because of the sounds they make, of the movements. Not right now. I work on from home, and there are like a lot of times that I have to also go to meetings to interpret meetings or interpret uh, uh, things like that, but outside my home. But most of my work is from home, so I don't have to deal with like people.
Got it. So you're when you're working from home doing translation, you're listening to conversations over the phone.
No, that was my first job. Now
Okay.
that's like that. I only like most of the things that I do right now is translate like subtitles for different movies or
Yeah. So
Netflix
written.
TV shows, written translation, yeah.
Yeah.
And when I have to interpret is when I have to talk. But it's like 40% of the time. And it's not as bad as before because before the only thing that I did was over the phone interpretation. So it was all day hearing different type of voices. And I was so drained at the end of the day because I had to bear with the noises. I have to so I stopped working on that and I started like translating. But so I do both things, but mostly written translation.
Yeah. So it seems like yeah, it seems like jobs where you have to focus hard on
Yeah,
people
exactly.
talking is not the most ideal. But you got through it. You got through it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then what about life? So life in Panama, what is the obviously this funny nowhere in the world I feel like is satisfactorily aware of misophonia, but it sounds like in Panama um is even less so.
Yeah,
So
it's non-existent here.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you tell me about that. Like do you Have you tried to talk to people outside of? Well, do you know anybody else who has it over there?
No, I don't know a single soul here that has misophonia. Not that I know, because maybe there are people around me that have it, but since they
Yeah.
also don't, they don't know either, they don't know people that have it, they don't talk about it. But I don't know anybody here that has it. But I have tried talking to psychologists or doctors, because I have gone,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I have visited specialists to maybe help cope me with it. But
Specifically for this? Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for this,
Mm-hmm.
because before, when I was a kid, I forgot to mention that my mom took me to a psychologist, because not because of the sound problem, because they didn't know that was the source, but because I was so angry all the time.
Yeah. I mean, that
Yeah.
sound. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. They didn't know about that it was the source, and me neither. I didn't know that I was angry because of that. I just thought that I really didn't know what was happening, but I always got so angry, and it was like from 1 to 10
Yep.
immediately. And they took me to a psychologist, but I never talked about it. And when I was older, I went like to three different psychologists, and they had no idea what was that about. Maybe I had to go to a psychiatrist or a phonologist. I have a friend, well, not a friend, acquaintance, that is a phonoaudiologist, and she has no idea what misophonia is. I have talked to a lot of doctors, they have no idea what misophonia is. And even one of them told me, like, maybe you're making it up. Oh, Lord, that pissed me off so much that I
Ooh,
left the
yeah. That's
room.
never good bedside
Yeah.
manners to say that about
Yeah. And
anything, really.
yeah, I have friends that have told like, no, this is what I have. Like, this told me that you're not gonna come with something up just because you want to. You identify with something when you have been struggling with that for the longest time. So I,
Long time. Yeah.
when I tell people that I have something, because I'm completely sure that I have it, and people like, how are you gonna say that you're not a doctor? Like, oh my God, how a doctor is gonna um determine, how can I say it,
Determine.
determine that I have it if they don't even know what it is. Like, I tell them that it's something that is not really, it's something that hasn't been really studied truthfully, like something that just people discovered the term a couple of years ago. Like, people don't sometimes don't believe you on things like, no, you're just searching on the internet and you think that you have that, you're overreacting. So I don't talk a lot about it. Just when people see me reacting in a way, like, what happened in that war, and just tell them, no, I have a some disorder that makes me react certain way with when I hear sounds. And like, they like, oh, and when they keep seeing me react the way I react with certain sounds, then they believe me. After a time that they see me, like,
Oh
oh, it's
God.
no joke, it's no joke, it's really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you do you walk around without any what I call protective armor, like headphones and earplugs and stuff, or do you have your kind of tools that
Yeah,
you use? Yeah.
those, I can't leave my house without them. I have normal earphones.
Yep.
I have the wireless JBL free, like those those are really helpful. But my main things things to cope is my app. I have an app that reproduces white sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Let me
Mm-hmm.
see, how is it
Like a white
called?
noise.
White noise, sorry, yeah, white noise. And there's one white noise in specific that blurs all the other noises that I can hear, but I can still hear you talk.
Yep.
Like, I don't know how it's like.
Yeah. So in the
Yeah,
you don't hear it now, but when I post it, well, you've heard my other
yeah,
episodes. I
yeah,
put like a brown noise, which is basically white noise, but with the high frequencies taken off. So it's more like a yeah, it's more like a rain or kind of a
yeah.
low
I love
rumble.
those. I
Mm.
love those. I use those all the time. If I ever have to, like, well, when not ever, when I like talk with my mom or we're in a family meeting or wherever, I have those, because those blur other sounds that they make. Or I don't know, when I have to do house chores, like washing the bathroom floor, things like that, I have to put that with also
Oh, right, the rubbing. Yeah.
yeah, really strong. a song plus that, and a lot of things. When I there are people, my neighbors have a party, like I have to use that whenever I'm in a train. I have to use that. Like that calms me so much, and it's I don't know, it's really really helpful. So I whenever I leave the house or even inside my house, I'm also wearing most of the times I'm wearing headphones.
Do you have the name of the app that you use?
It's called white noise light.
White noise light. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, I'll try to find a link to that just in case others are interested. So that mixes noise into the songs that you're listening to,
Yeah,
or is it
also.
pure noise? Okay, gotcha. Very cool. Okay, brown, pink noise,
Hmm.
whatever you're interested in, that could be a lifesaver.
Yeah.
And what about so restaurants, movies, do you kind of avoid a lot of situations?
Mm, yeah. Well, I have heard or read about people that can't go to the movies or can go eating with their friends. I can do it, but I know I'm gonna be triggered. But I still do it. There are things that I know that I'm gonna be triggered, but the trigger is stronger, and that's what I avoid. But when the trigger is like mild, I still like go ahead and just I take it. I don't know, it sounds bad, but I don't know, I take it because I don't want to avoid things in life just because of this.
I think we all kind of understand, figure out our spectrum and just kind
Yeah,
of figure out
exactly.
where we're on.
There are times that in the movies I haven't been able to pay attention to the movie at all. Because sometimes I go to the movie just not because I want to watch the movie, but because I want to see how people
Socialize.
react. No, so to see how people
Oh,
react to the subtitles because I translate most
oh, of
of
course.
the
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, it's
oh
your
people
work. Yeah.
yeah like, oh they like it like whatever. But sometimes when I do want to watch the movie, oh there are people like I have developed so many techniques to know where to sit, who to talk with. It's
Yep. We
insane.
all
If
have.
people really know what I do when I go out of the house, like my techniques and everything, people would think like I'm a psychotic person. Like it's really, really extreme. I need to sit in a certain place at the bus. I need to sit in a certain place at my church. I need to know. I need like everything is calculated. It's ridiculous. But if I don't do it, oh, it's I can't leave. It's weird.
Yeah. So walk me through maybe one of your calculations. Let's say you just got your ticket. You just walked into the theater. Do you wait for people to sit down? Do you have like a go-to section that
Yeah,
you only go to?
for the movies, I tend to see like really really at the back where people like I know seats that people don't usually sit, so I sit there, and I have to be like in a part where I can leave right away because there are times that it gets
Right.
so intense that I have to leave. But the tactics and techniques are mostly when I get on a bus. If I get on a bus, I can't sit next to a person that is chewing gum, or I cannot sit next to a person that is using their phone because I can watch their fingers playing on their phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't sit on a person that seems that is cold because they're gonna do the hands rubbing thing. And there's so many things I cannot sit next to a real person because I can't stand light touch. And then I not know that their shoulder or I'm sorry, their elbow or their hands are gonna be rubbing me. I cannot stand it.
Yeah.
There's so many things. And there was one time that the bus was so crowded and there were people touching me everywhere and there were people making all sorts of noises and I didn't have my earphones. I was so anxious. I had like a panic attack. I couldn't breathe and I
Mm-hmm.
had to leave like on the next bus stop even though it
Yeah.
wasn't mine. So I have a lot of panic attacks, like anxiety, all of that because of the sound problem.
Do people talk about like mental health issues at all over there the same way as some other countries, or is even that anything related to mental health kind of taboo?
No, there is no taboo here. With the most common mental health disorders like anxiety, depression, like
Mm-hmm.
things like that. People really take a lot of consideration into people who have that have that. But when it is unknown, people don't care about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, once I tried talking to a stranger that was really, really taking me to like I was about to punch him in the face, but I've never done that in my life. But I was on over my limits, and I told him that please don't stop that, like stop doing what you're doing, like please, really, really calm. And he was like, why? It's not your problem. And I just briefly told him, no, I have a
Mm-hmm.
disorder, like la la la, like like he cursed at me and kept doing that. I was about to cry. So I know people when they don't know about something, they don't in Panama. I can only talk about Panama. When people don't
Yeah.
know or they don't know a lot about an issue, they don't see it as important.
I mean, and that's not just Panama. That's yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty universal. So there might be, who knows? There might be people. Actually, I should be able to take a look at the stats. There might be people in Panama who are listening to this secretly, having bottled this up for many, many years, um, or definitely in like in other countries, even the United States, where it's there's really nobody else around. Do you have any? Yeah. Do you have anything you want to tell people who have kind of had to bottle this up like you have?
Well, that is not their fault because when you have this, you build up a lot of guilt, a lot of guilt. It's
Yeah.
not their fault, but also please try to to learn how to cope it because when it was like 10 years ago or even 7 years ago, we had no idea. Well, on my side, I had no idea what misophonia was, but now
Mm-hmm.
that there's been such a huge co- community growth, I don't know how to say that, like the misophonia community has growth so much. There's a lot of blogs and accounts that can teach you how to cope with it, and they do work. I know misophonia the moment has no cure, but you can live with it. You can cope with it. It's gonna take some time, but try doing it, and you will see that it's really, really amazing when you manage to live with this disorder and manage it with like um your life. And I don't know, and try to share because people say that no, if I learn about other people's triggers, I'm gonna acquire that trigger. But whenever you read more, whenever you talk about it more, whenever you participate on things like podcasts, and you get it out of your chest, like
Mm-hmm.
you're
Mm-hmm.
helping yourself and also you're helping other people. So that's why I really, really congratulate you for this initiative. Is gonna help a lot of people.
No, I
And if
appreciate that.
yeah,
Marjorie, again, thank you for coming on, and good luck with. Yeah, I'm glad you've found what it is, and it's explained a lot to you, and I know this is going to help a lot of people. And yeah, good luck to you going forward. And I hope let's keep in touch. I mean, I'm hoping all the guests here we kind of keep in touch, and maybe we can have you on at a later date.
yeah, of course. Whatever you need, I'm here.
Thank you, Marjorie, and thank you for listening to this conversation. Again, you can follow on Facebook or Instagram at Misophonia Podcast. Also on Twitter at Misophonia Show. My email is hello@misophoniapodcast.com. Lots of stickers still being sent out to anyone who emails me their mailing address. Theme music's by Moby, and until next week, wishing you peace and quiet.